Hello. Great to see you here. The Four Seasons, What Lies Beneath. I love these very dramatic horror movie titles for this stuff. Really, performing doesn't have to be so traumatic. Actually, yeah, someone since told me that, right, there is a movie, What Lies Beneath, which I haven't seen. Of course, this whole week we've been talking about how that performance, for better or worse, is all that your audience, all that your listeners see, whether they're listeners in a concert hall or behind the screen of an audition or just family and friends. It's all they see, right? Yet only you know, or all of us know who pick up this crazy thing and play it. All of us know everything else that goes into it. And, sometimes you might say, well, what does it matter? You can talk yourself up, you have this positive attitude, you can do all this work. You never really know what's going to happen on stage, right? And it can be really, really frustrating when you think you do everything right to prepare, and then it just doesn't go according to plan, right? And then when you think about what lies beneath, it seems like a colossal waste, because all that people saw was what was above the surface. So part of what I hope I can convince you of this week is that, first of all, it's never a waste. And that all that stuff, if it was good stuff, it's still going to be there to support the next performance, and the one after that, and the one after that. And if you're willing to look at your process, everything that lies beneath, willing to look at it honestly, then you might be able to identify some things to do differently next time, to make the whole thing more fun, and to help it support all of your playing, not just that performance, right? Because once you get in the rhythm of working on great music, yes, having not only a positive mindset, but a mindset that leads toward sharing, performing, and working on the fundamentals that support that great music. Once you get in that routine, right, obviously it's easier to stay there. You're more motivated to perform. Performing becomes more natural. I wouldn't say it's ever routine, because I've talked to very few performers. There are those few who say, yeah, I don't really get nervous, and I do it so often now, it's no big thing. That's really the exception. And they're not always, in my opinion, the very best players. I've talked to some of the very best, including, I don't mind telling you that when Pinka Zuckerman came and played with us the last time, was Brahms' Concerto. And after the first performance, which I thought was awesome, he was saying, it's been a while since I played this piece live, and I want to get another couple in there to feel better about it. And I thought, how many times has he played this, and how many times, right, does he perform in a year? There can't be anything more that he wants to do with this piece. I was wrong about that. And I thought he's done it so much, he can't be nervous about it. Well, I was wrong about that. That process of preparing and sharing, you have to go through it. Otherwise, those muscles sort of atrophy a little bit. So, as we share our winter slow movement today, you might not have an audience with you. You guys are my audience. As we prepare to share, let's think about that what we're doing this week is not just for today, obviously, but to go forward to your next performances, the next music that you prepare. So the plan is, we'll talk about a few winter slow movement related things. And then I would love to actually hear a few of your comments about preparing winter, not just on the instrument, but up here, the mindset. I'd love to get some of your comments on that. And then I want to take a look forward at your next performance, your next repertoire projects, and how you can apply all of this to that. And that will lead into what I'm planning on doing the rest of this year and all next year. So exciting stuff. Stay tuned. Let's take a quick A. That should be a good one. Two quick tangents. One, I have these geared pegs, these Whitner pegs on this instrument, and I love them. I'll never go back. Never. Someday I think there's another brand maybe that looks a little fancier. This is pretty plain. But yeah, they're just so... Imagine never a sticking peg, never a slipping peg. It's a good thing. And fine-tuning adjustment on all of them. The other quick tangent also has to do with Pinchas Zuckerman. I once saw him really lay into someone about their tuning, so I'll just pass this on, at least the parts of it that I think will be productive for everyone. What's for sure is that when you change bow, right, the bow has to stop and change direction. Now, we work our whole lives on smooth bow changes and all that, but even better is to tune a string within a bow, right? In this particular class that I saw, he went so far as to say, should always just tune in one direction, and let's make it up bow. And maybe it's just, yeah, imitation that made me pick up that tradition, but I like it. It forces me to really listen rather than just, you start doing that, not only may you change the pitch with all those constant bow changes, but it's just it's a visual and physical noise, right? So nice long bows, and if I can't get it done in that time, this space they've already changed. If I can't get it done in that first bow, just calmly do another bow. I do that in orchestra even. So it's something you can try and then write. I don't think the particular direction matters, and if you want to change bows instead of taking it off the string and putting it back, that's fine. But my tuning definitely got more purposeful and accurate once I started doing that. So thank you, Pinky. All right. Let's pull up Winter. The slow movement, because now we've gone through all the 4 seasons, and I hope, hope I was able to share a few new things with even you veterans who have played them all before. Let's just go through slowly, because I know some folks were curious, what are my fingerings for this? It's the one movement where I didn't mark all of that in. And without stepping into your room and marking up your part, we've kind of gone around and looked at various bars. What do I do? So I start on a 2. This very first shift, by the way, because I'm not interested in people hearing it, right, it's not going to be a new finger shift by any means. In fact, I'm trying to remember if in any of these 4 seasons, if I ever did a new finger shift. I don't believe so. So it's an old finger. The guide finger is the old finger, that's a 2, and it goes up to a G. And because I don't need people to hear this slide, maybe I let them hear a little bit at the tail end of the down bow. Right, it becomes very, very, very late in the bow change. So late, in fact, that it's almost during the bow change. So I go down to another 3 now, shifting on the half step, often very convenient, right? I could keep it on the same string, but again, the difference between the 2 middle strings on the violin, usually not that big in terms of sound, so I don't mind crossing. And then I'm still in 4th position for what I need to do here. Again, on the half step, another 1. Now I go up to a 3, so it's again the same kind of shift. I chose to ornament that with the trill, which means a 4th finger trill with that fingering. You wouldn't have to ornament it if you didn't want to, then you could just reach up with a 4. Again, 4th position, that means a 3rd finger. So on the 3rd one, I do go up the A string. Now a 2, down to a 1, shift on the half step or nudge on the half step, however you want to call it. So I will admit here in bar 5, there's no rest written. It's tied over. But it is the end of the phrase, basically. So I let the sound taper enough that it almost sounds like a rest. Now this is a perfect 5th, but I don't go straight across with the 3. I could, but the kind of finger placement you use for a perfect 5th, not always conducive to the best vibrato. So what I'll often do, and you'll see this all the time in the Izai sonatas, by the way, going over a 5th, but substituting a finger. So I substitute a 2. And that 2 sort of undercuts the 3 and kicks it out of the way so that you shouldn't hear anything. You can do the same thing on the way back over, but there's enough taper here that I feel fine just hopping it. I didn't want to do the there, but here. So that, staying on A string there. Now E. That trill from above. We talked a little about that yesterday, I believe it was, with trills. So that same kind of fingering plan as the beginning, right? And you may wonder, why do I keep playing the guide note? It's mainly just to emphasize the point that that is how I shift. I keep the lower finger on the string, and I make the same motion that I would if I wanted you to hear. And the bow change is synced up with dropping the new finger. A lot of folks get into trouble if they try to shift when the note's supposed to arrive. There I've shifted at the same time as the bow change, and that can result in those kind of half and half shifts where you start with the old finger and you finish with the new finger. There can be a place for that, but it's not in this music. So, now I substitute because I want to be in first position, so talked yesterday about how I don't mind the open string there as long as I don't surround it with a note with tons of vibrato. From above, because I had just come from the main note to fourth position, is just up a half step. Basically, the hand moves up a half step. Talked about this too. Rather than the same old thing from the first half of the movement, I just reach up with a 4 and then trill on the E string. Now back to the A string, so that I'm not crossing, but 4 reaching back the 1. This is a case where I reach back with the finger, and then I let the hand catch up, or catch down, as it were. 1, so I'm going to shift on the half step. This I do keep all on the A string. Now I substitute to go to second position. Once on the E string, and then again second position. A little ornament if you like. Back to the E string. 4. So again, in terms of the finger numbers, there are times I could do, a 2 or a 3 or whatever it is. In the very beginning, for example, I could shift from a 2 up to a 3. That might leave me a worse option for what comes after, but I could do it. What's more important to me is what string I'm on and if and where I'm going to change strings. So you saw a lot of half-step nudges in this movement, right? And that was generally to keep me on a certain string. So choosing fingerings, definitely an art, and it's sometimes easier in faster passages, right? There may only be one good or obvious option. Sometimes it's harder when things are moving more slowly. It's melodic. You have a lot of possibilities. Hard to narrow it down and choose the best one. So that's why, again, if you approach it from the standpoint of glissandi, not so many in this. In fact, really none that I want people to hear. Glissandi and strings, or string changes, and then fill in the numbers later. It'll seem tougher to do at first, but in the end, I think more artistically satisfying. So, we're almost there. I'm curious if you did your homework. If you followed my prompts yesterday, let's just review what those were. Now, for some reason, why can't I change my score? There we go. Looking at mindset for this movement. So figure we've got T minus 3 minutes. So if you've got a violin around and you're gonna play alongside me, remember you can mute me and you're on your device if you want to play at the same time as me and you don't want to hear me interfering. Start getting that violin ready and think back to what you wrote for your mindset. 3 minutes from now, what your own vision of success was going to be. I remember telling you that I hope it's not that you're going to play every note perfectly and that's your success. Now, there are times in life where success to me means for once, I really want to be centered pitch-wise, and that's okay. That can be a good mindset if that's where you are and you're playing, and it's really time for you to prove to yourself that you can play something melodic in a flat key with centered pitch. That can be good. But then, give yourself a break on some other components maybe. And for some it was going to be, I want to connect whatever notes go together, whatever makes up a phrase, I want to make sure those are connected. That's really what I want this performance to be about. Could be that you want to bring out the character of the music as it hits you as music, the character of the sonnet that Vivaldi wrote to go with this. Remember sitting inside by the fire while the cold rain is all around. So just review what you wrote. If you didn't write anything, think of something now. And then tools. Just think back on anything that you especially worked on this week to prepare for this. This didn't have a whole bunch of crazy techniques in it, but maybe there was one aspect of the bow arm or the left hand that you focused on. So I just want you to congratulate yourself for putting time and thought and effort into something that maybe you'd left uncovered for a while. Or you'd left it covered. You uncovered it this week. Same goes for techniques, practice techniques, which includes, by the way, this whole process that we're going through. Maybe you didn't actually play the slow movement of Winter very much, but you considered these other aspects. You chose fingerings based on the strategies that I gave. You marked in shapes before doing a whole bunch of practicing on the movement. You thought about macro shapes and micro shapes. So those are all practice techniques, and maybe those were new and different this week. All right, it's time. So if you're going to mute me, now's the time. I'm just going to play straight through this slow movement. What comes out is what comes out. Same for you. And then we will reflect. So, slow movement of Winter. All right. It's over. It only exists now in your memory, or if you recorded it. Mine is going to exist in this video, so I've got to be okay with that. So I'm curious, now's the time, if you'd like to put in the comments, those of you here live, how did your mindset, what you were aware of as you played, how did that tally with your mindset going in? And I expect that for a lot of folks, it can be pretty different. Still, for me, as much preparation as I do, it tallies a lot of the time. And then some of the time that spotlight's pretty bright. That note's out of tune. None of which is especially productive to me, bringing that musical message to my listeners. But the more that I go through this process with intention, lay the groundwork, prepare the fundamentals, keep a successful attitude in the practice room, the more I go through that with each piece that I work through, the better I get at carrying that mindset of success onto the stage. So I'll leave you another moment to leave some comments, but if anybody's bold enough to share, and if I could get any of those comments passed to me, very curious how they tallied in this particular performance. Somebody couldn't bring themselves to mute. At first I thought you meant put a mute on your instrument. Yeah, it is, as Charlotte mentions, nice to think of so many people playing this around the world at the same time. And I was thinking about this the other day. I wonder, basically since these pieces were written 250 odd years ago, or no, I'm sorry, almost 300 years ago at this point, 1725, I wonder if there's ever been a moment where nobody anywhere in the world was practicing or performing part of the four seasons. I wonder if there's ever been a moment. I mean, certainly not from the mid-20th century till today. I'm certain of that. I bet somebody's always playing part of it. So wherever you are, Vivaldi, congratulations. It's a constant soundtrack to our lives. So I see Clara mentions got distracted with exaggerating dynamics and using more bow when it wasn't what you had planned. And maybe your mindset was actually, I'm curious if your mindset what did have to do with a dynamic plan, and you were so in tune with it that it got exaggerated. I had to laugh at myself because I found myself doing a fingering in the very first bar, which was different from what I just told you I did. I said I wasn't gonna shift down because I didn't need to. And there I did it. That was a performance thing, and it happened. And it distracted me for a moment because I was like, that's not what I said I was going to do. So those will happen. That's why it's important to practice performing, to put performance mode in every part of every practice day, so that you can get used to dealing with those self-imposed distractions. Jackie mentions, we're going to focus on your bowing, but didn't mute and instead focused on my intonation and matching it. All right, that's fair enough. You can imagine me standing on your shoulders, higher, lower. And Charlotte also couldn't bear to mute me. Well, you guys are too nice, but as you know, I have things about this performance that I would change. I really want you, okay, now if you didn't try this right now, synchronized with everybody, I do hope you'll try it later today. Just on your own, set a timer when it goes off. That's your moment to play, because I would love for you to test out how does this whole thing work And how can you compare your process, what lies beneath, with what happens on stage? Because that's what it's about, is taking it from the slow-moving winter onto the next project and the next performance. And I am grateful for all of you who enjoy listening to my playing. If I can inspire you, that is definitely what I'm after. Well, let's talk about other pieces then. Because ultimately this is only going to be valuable, right, if you can bring it to other repertoire that you're going to work on. Because we all have, we might not choose every piece that we work on, and I want to talk about that today too. In my life, other people are often programming things for me. But it's important, I think, to choose pieces for yourself too, and not to feel guilty about the music that you like. There's a lot of, I should work on this, I should work on that, and actually, even before I work on that, I need to do this scale and this etude. And then all this time goes by and you haven't gotten to play what you wanted. So instead, I'd love for you to think of just some piece that you really want to play. Doesn't matter if you think you can play it right now, but something that you do want to play. And imagine playing it. And I mean, actually sharing it with other people. Again, it doesn't have to be the Hollywood Bowl, doesn't have to be thousands of people, but imagine someone else listening to you play this piece and really enjoying it. Maybe that has happened for you already, but it's been a while. Looking to get that back. Along with this, please also imagine that you enjoy how you sound. Not every note, because even with what we just did, I don't like this, I don't like that. But, let's imagine that your listeners are enjoying you, and you're just enjoying the fact that you can make them happy, just like you do when you cook somebody a meal. It's not perfect, but, not only does it taste good, but it brings you pleasure to see other people enjoying it, right? That's what this is about. Imagine a year from now, put yourself in a particular setting, and that's going to be different for everybody. For me, I got this taste of the Hollywood Bowl, and I want to do it again. Actually, I want to play in our other venue in Disney Hall. So I'm imagining playing a solo concerto in Disney Hall with my orchestra. Actually, I think our programming is set for the next year, so I guess that's not going to happen in this year, but still a little bit of a fantasy. So maybe some soloist gets sick. They got to call me in. It happened last summer. It happened to me. Soloist got sick for Mozart 4. Happened to be the piece that I always take auditions with. So 2 days later, there I was at the Bowl, soloing with the LA Phil. So maybe that happens again. That'll be my fantasy. I don't really want anybody to get sick. Maybe it's just like they missed their flight. We'll do that. So I'm in Disney Hall. Who's there? Well, it's a full house. It's our great audience. Imagine who's there for you, how it feels, and what specifically you like about your sound and your playing. And for those of you who did play along, or even mute me and play Winter, pick out something that you liked from how that went, and just imagine that, but multiplied, right? The thing is, I find most players, it's this paradox. They don't set the bar high enough for the long term. It's another way of saying they're unwilling to dream big, or to dream at all, really. It's hard as adults to keep up an active fantasy life. So they don't set the bar high enough for the long term, but setting it way too high for the moment to moment and the day to day. So not only do they not have a fun idea about where they want to go, but wherever they're going each day, they don't like it. It's not enough. And that's definitely a recipe for failure. Feeling trapped by your limitations, right? Not being able to see beyond them. So we need goals in the long term. But in order to get there, we have to have those goals on the shorter term too. So just like we've got macro and micro shapes, macro and micro goals. And then to link those together, right? How do the day-to-day goals, how does the week-to-week process serve those larger goals? Because if you don't have those, things will stay the same or even slide backwards. So, my intention for this year from now, it's a tough thing to do. Might not seem tough to everybody because I do have a great job, colleagues that I love, most of you anyway. But I'm an orchestral player, that's my job. And even a couple weeks ago when I stepped out front to play the Four Seasons, I still kind of felt like I was trying on my dad's clothes or something. It's like, yeah, I'm a soloist for today because that's what they asked me to do, but I'm still an orchestral player. A year from now, I really want to see myself differently. Not that I'm going to leave the orchestra, but, that being a soloist is as much a part of what I do as playing in the orchestra. May not be in terms of number of hours, but artistic identity. That's my goal. That's my intention for this next year. And I know that to get there, I need a longer term vision for myself and the pieces that I want to play, the repertoire. Where I play them, how I feel and how I sound when I'm playing them, which means I've got to make a plan, I need to be picking my own music. For me, quarterly goals are pretty good, because then if I fall short, I can just readjust the plan kind of on a 3-month basis. Monthly goals, weekly practice plans. Daily is hard because my life changes day to day. I have 3 kids. I have the job. Any of you with any kind of family responsibilities know just that practice time that you had set aside in a day, it can just go up in smoke, right? So daily's tough. I don't like to beat myself up if I can't get things done in a day. But, weekly, if I'm working on a solo piece or an audition, I want to give myself a certain amount of material and find a way through it. Then adjust the next week. It also helps if I'm not doing it alone. Now, I'm lucky I've got my wife, Akiko, fabulous violinist, right there in the house with me. Now, she's not working on the same music as me. We did that once. We took the same audition, and that was, both sides of the house, the same stuff going on. We were supportive of each other, of course, but it was inspiring nonetheless, because it's like, oh, I'm hearing that. I want to do it that way. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to try that. So, great repertoire, plans and goals, and community. Bringing that together is my plan for this coming year. So, I'm very excited to share with you a brand new adventure called the Daily Virtuoso. All right. I'm inviting all of you to stay with me here and think about what might be, because really this is for you. It's based on feedback that I've gotten over years, and it's a new kind of thing that we're trying. So I'm opening the doors as of today. You're the first to hear about it because you're actually here live. And yeah, so over the next year I'm committing to this way of teaching and sharing music with you. Partly it's identifying myself in a new way as an artist, not a laborer, reclaiming that for myself. To do that, I need to work with the great pieces, the pieces I love and that give all of us the best scope for improving our playing. So I'm talking about the cornerstone concertos, solo pieces. And I actually, I don't want to do that alone. I do better with company and with deadlines. So long-term plan, but shorter-term goals. I've put that together for myself, but I've put it together for all of you too. And this has never really been tried before except by me personally, and maybe if you think back to your own lives, maybe you've done this too. Your playing has improved as you worked on the great pieces. So you're expanding artistically, you're getting better technically, those two are always paired up, by the way, through working on great repertoire. So when you become a daily virtuoso, you're doing those two things at once, getting stronger, but also playing the best music. I found that when I kind of separate those two, it's almost like eating a ton of vegetables. You know, I know the old kind of vegetables that didn't taste good. It's like, yeah, I know it's good for me to play scales. You know, I love scales. Focus on scales and etudes. But after a while, I can kind of feel trapped by that. I'm pretty sure I'm getting stronger, but I'm not sure what for. It's like Seinfeld had an old joke about the reason people work out is just so that they can get through the next workout. That's a little tough to keep that motivation. When you think about it, because that strong technique is there in the great pieces already, the point of learning it is to play those pieces well, to play them better, and to be able to eventually forget about the technique and express yourself, to bring that message to your listeners. Great pieces, Mendelssohn Concerto, Brahms, solo Bach, the Franck Sonata, solo Isai, Paganini. I want you to remember that these pieces were written for you. I know composers are often long gone, but Isai could play his pieces. We have recordings of him playing. Bach, we're not sure. Brahms couldn't play his sonatas on the violin. Mendelssohn did, some. Franck didn't. These were written for you, the performers. Okay? We need you in order to get that music to listeners, those who can't do it for themselves. Okay? Not just anybody in the world can play this music. Anybody can listen and enjoy, but it's only us violinists who can do it, to recreate that music. And it makes me sad when I see folks who are afraid to do that. People who've been playing violin for a long time, but afraid to get their hands on great pieces of music and share them. Because if you're a violinist but you don't play great violin repertoire, it gets a little lonely and a little pointless. So in the Daily Virtuoso, you're part of a group learning the great music together alongside me, because I'll be keeping that plan for myself as well. I'm picking pieces that I love, that I myself want to learn and discover or rediscover, and that I want to teach. So, not everyone, I understand, is going to be into this particular program. This one is not for beginners, just because you need a certain baseline understanding and skill and experience on the instrument. But as I'm going to talk about, you certainly don't need to feel like you've already mastered these pieces already. It's not like that. Any of you who have done my programs before, you know me. I'm able to help you stretch. This kind of goes along. It's not exactly the same thing. This also isn't for folks who are not in the habit of practicing every day or close to it. If you're picking it up 1 or 2 times a week, this is going to be frustrating, right? Because you need that continuity. Now, Heifetz took a day off every week, so the everyday thing sometimes gets a little overblown. But basically, that daily practice habit, practice rhythm. Okay. If getting better play, not just getting better, if transforming yourself into a different kind of player and artist is not a priority, then don't do this, because again, it's going to be a little frustrating if you don't have that goal that you're holding in mind. Also, if you can't get past the idea that to improve you have to have those weekly lessons in the room with the teacher, if you just can't get past that, right, obviously this is not going to be for you. I do love that, by the way. If you've got a great teacher and you can see them every week, and they're helping you with the pieces you want to play, nothing better than that. But not everybody can get into that situation. So, who is this for? And you can, at home, you can raise your hand. Nobody will see you. But yeah, if you're playing the violin, if it's part of your daily life, basically, that's for you. Or, if you would start playing every day again, if you actually liked how you sounded and if you had an idea what you wanted to do in the practice room. It is especially for people who have a full life, right? Who have a job, who have families. My idea is to use your practice minutes, because sometimes it's just 15, 20 minutes at a time, the very best you can use them, and to spend it playing great music again. I've never given a perfect performance. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're not going to either. But in the time we have, let's at least play great music, okay? And day to day, that schedule may shift. You don't need hours and hours of totally free time on the calendar. You can use that if you've got it. Daily Virtuoso is also for people who are focused on taking auditions. I'll get to the fact that this it doesn't have to be a long-term commitment, this program. When I was taking auditions, I really, really needed to mix in that solo work. Otherwise, musically, I would wither, So my most successful auditions they've happened around the times that I've had solo projects that I've taken on as well. And not just the exposition to the concertos that I'm doing in the audition. That's when I've had the most success. I lift the ceiling of my abilities. For professionals, obviously I'm going to be doing it along with you, but also for those serious players who have careers in a different field, right? If you're playing every day or just about every day, it's for you. And if you want something more than what you have, right? I think that's the main qualification. There's that stirring. Because I'll get you playing better, but I also am hoping that being part of this group, the Daily Virtuoso, gives you that desire to share more of yourself, because that's what we do when we play, right? We're sharing parts of ourselves maybe that the rest of the world doesn't usually get to see, like actors. I want you to dream bigger in terms of what's possible, all right? So, Daily Virtuoso will enable you to do that. If you're collaborative, you want to support and encourage others, doesn't mean you have to be on Facebook commenting on everything, but just, keeping that open mind. This is not a competition. It's not a cutthroat conservatory. And that goes for the way that you look at the repertoire too. I'm going to talk about what we're going to work on. But when you look at the first quarter's repertoire, it's okay if it feels like a stretch, or if you haven't played any of it. If everything feels like it's totally out of reach, then okay, that's another thing. But I want you to be able to, let's say if you're going to take this on, if you've explored some shifting, right? If you've played some scales, if you've tried double stops, think kind of the later Suzuki books, that sort of level. I want you to have some fluency with how you get around the instrument, but everything else I can help you take care of. And you might not want to work on all the repertoire at once. I'm setting a program that lets us learn a concerto or recital piece and an encore piece every quarter. You don't have to do all of that. Or you can pick and choose. I've made it modular. So, just details. We're going to start the very beginning of October. October 2nd, I believe, is the Monday. Now, if you join by the end of this calendar year, then not only are you going to lock in some great founding member pricing, is what I'm calling it, but here's what we're going to do in the first quarter. So starting in just a week and a half or so, the repertoire is going to be the Bach A minor solo sonata, which we didn't get to do in the summer Bach retreat, the Mendelssohn Concerto, all of it, and Kreisler's Preludium and Allegro. Okay, that's our encore piece. Man, Mendelssohn, every time I return to it, it just gets better and better. It doesn't get easy, but it's so rewarding to go through it again. I can't wait to put it together and make a recording for myself. When we do this, we're not going to take them one at a time, like 1 month on the Mendelssohn, 1 month on the Bach. We're doing it all at once, but we're starting, in the first week when you see my plan, we're going to look at the first page of Mendelssohn. We're going to look at part of the first movement of the Bach, the beginning of the Kreisler, because I like interleaving. I like having some variety. If I'm just working on one thing, I can get kind of stuck. So do remember, though, if you want to take this in a more modular way, like, hey, I've played the Mendelssohn, I'm not feeling that right now, but I'm really wanting to learn the Bach and the Kreisler, do those too, because every week you'll see what my plans are for the Bach and for the Kreisler. Okay, so I've got you covered that way with weekly plans. When we get to the new year, that's a new quarter. Okay, so the repertoire changes. New concerto, new recital piece, new encore piece. So I imagine you're going to have lots of questions. I'm leaving time for that. So no worries there. I'm going to keep an eye on questions that come in. So start firing away. But let me give you an overview of how it works. If you've done the Violympics before, the summer Bach retreat, you understand, those were daily practice plans with daily tiny assignments. So this is going to be a little bit different because, some folks got very concerned. I missed Wednesday and I didn't do the popcorn assignment. So now, so these are weekly plans because we're taking on projects over a longer time period. Violympics, we're changing the rep every 2 weeks, right? This, we've got our rep for the quarter. Okay, longer time span, weekly practice plans. That means that at the beginning of a week, you get around an hour of new video lessons from me, continuing to take you through my plan for the quarter. Okay. This means, by the way, that let's say it's the second quarter and you said, well, I was kind of busy the first quarter. I only did the Bach. But man, this quarter, instead of, playing the pieces I really want to go back and do the Mendelssohn, you can do that. Just go back and do the Mendelssohn. Follow the same plan on the same time frame. So that's what you get at the beginning of each week. Now we're also going to have live sessions. Okay? I'll get to what those different kinds of live sessions are. But I'm going to be in there with you, okay? This is not like, okay, see you. hope you can become a daily virtuoso. In the video lessons, the plans for each week, and you get a written summary as well. It's all based on what we've been doing this week, the mindset, tools, techniques. So the live sessions, one is a technique deep dive. I pick one topic or one technique and I lead you through an hour's really fun workout. You can do it right along with me. You can kind of save it for later because I'll be referring to these workouts. Topics like off-string strokes, double stop practice. So ways to work on these that hopefully you've never seen before. It's the kind of thing I've been doing for years with the Virtuoso Master Course folks. That's my really high-level program that I'm phasing out for next year. That's been a really popular feature there. And then every month there's also a hot seat studio class. So that's a chance for some folks to get feedback on their work. And, I'll want to keep things fast moving, so that in a 90-minute session, we can get to a lot of different issues, maybe solve 10 problems in 90 minutes. Wouldn't that be great? And leave a little time for questions too. Priority for those spots is going to be for those folks who are joining for a year at a time, so those annual members. But if we need more participation in those, take it from the group at large. But even if you're not actually live in the hot seat, people always tell me they can get so much because invariably they're going to have some of the same issues, and they get to see how someone else solves them or how I solved them with someone else. And then every quarter as well, a special guest. I got those friends in the violin world who love joining us and giving us their take on how they would prepare our repertoire. All of those sessions, because I know it's always a question, what if I can't make this or that? They're all recorded, so as long as you're a Daily Virtuoso member, you can go back and watch any of the ones that you missed. So that's no problem. So just to sum up, we've got our framework that informs everything we do. Practice makes performance, and that is made up of mindset, tools, and techniques. I'm going to actually take you inside the course in just a couple minutes, and you'll see that that's what it's based on. And that is what will give you the results that you want. So when you become a Daily Virtuoso, I really believe that you'll finally look forward to practicing. You'll actually surprise, I could even say amaze yourself on the things you can do on the violin, and you will play the greatest violin music ever written, and you'll enjoy how you sound doing it. So every 3 months, we get to wipe the slate clean. You'll keep what you've learned and you'll apply it to the repertoire in the next quarter. So went over repertoire for the first quarter just to remind you. Bach A minor solo sonata, Mendelssohn concerto, Kreisler Preludium and Allegro. By the way, on October 2nd, when we start up with that first week's plan, you're going to have my marked parts for all of that. So my fingerings and bowings to start with, because I know that's a big advantage for those of you who agonize over, what to choose. You'll have it. If you're using 4-score, of course, it'll be a layer that you can hide if you want to, or you can just bring it up to refer to it. And I expect you'll modify things to fit your own hand and bow arm, but I'm happy to take that work off your plate, fingerings and bowings. And then week by week, you get the plan to take you through with the idea that at the end of the quarter, however much of the music you've wanted to take on, you could perform it. As I said, I've never given a perfect performance, but that's what we do. That's our deadline. And then we switch. You'll get another chance in life to play that music, and I actually hope you will program it and share it once you've learned it with me. And any core skills that you need along the way, I've got you covered with the Virtuoso Vault. That's what I'm going to show you in just a couple minutes. Virtuoso Vault is a library of video lessons. They've never been released before on YouTube, and they take you through those key fundamental skills from mindset, tools, and techniques, including some classic etudes. Now, if you get stuck along the way, you'll be part of a community of folks learning the same music, generally the same music with you at the same time. And so, as opposed to, the rest of real life where, you can ask a colleague or you can ask your teacher if you've got one, here everybody's going to be working on the same challenges at the same time. So it's going to be really timely and easy to get inspiration and easy to see that everybody's got the same issues, right? You're not the only one. And for that personal feedback, because there aren't any one-on-one sessions with me in the Daily Virtuoso, but I've put together some of my trusted teachers to head up practice squads. And so when you join, if you like, You can be part of a practice squad, and those meet monthly in live sessions, again, under the supervision of one of the teachers that I trust. And that way you can get the personal feedback and help in a live setting. Nobody has to be part of that if they don't want to, but that way you can get some feedback and checkpoints on your progress. The live sessions, as I mentioned. All this I put together based on feedback I've gotten, in emails and comments over the years, but particularly the work that I've done with the great folks in my Virtuoso Master course. And that has been going for about 5 years now. And that was a major investment because of the personal time, that I spent with the members of the VMC. But it has taught me so much about how to get results, even with people I've never met. I've still never met more than half of the VMC members, but we've done some great things. And we've seen that the fastest and longest lasting progress comes from those repertoire-based projects, the ones that have deadlines, combined with community support. Okay, and you'll know that if you did Violympics or Summer Bach or any of that. And just finally, I'm going to be on this journey with you. I'll be challenging myself to make a high quality recording of the rep, to close out these quarters with you. So for the first time, Daily Virtuoso is available as a monthly membership. Okay, because that's something I've heard over the years. A lot of folks didn't have the resources to commit to something for a year, and particularly not the kind of major investment that the VMC was. So Daily Virtuoso is available monthly. But if you know that this is great, and I can tell you all the rep that we're going to do in the first 4 quarters, if you want to commit to the first year with me and be a founding annual member, you'll not only get a great discount, which, by the way, as long as you join before the end of the calendar year, you'll lock in the founding pricing for as long as you're a member, because it'll go up in the new year. But if you join before then as long as you're a member, that stays the same. If you become an annual founding member before the end of this weekend, I'll actually give you another one of my courses for free, meaning the Violympics 2020, which was the sort of classic repertoire. Violympics 2021 was the world premieres, the Summer Bach retreat, or the Spring Audition Intensive, which includes marked parts and performance videos and strategies for a ton of excerpts. So you can pick any of those for free. That's for those who join annually by the end of this weekend. So, gone over the basic structure. Before I take you inside and take some questions, I just want to mention what's a little bit different, because there are some other monthly membership type programs out there. I see them on Instagram. I've jumped in there now and then. What's different here is that it's my guidance. There's that one voice that ties everything together and that takes you through a project on a schedule. I love the teachers and performers that I see in some of these other programs. I get a lot out of watching their lessons, but I'm always left a little bit wondering, okay, well, what would they do over a period of months to prepare a piece? And sometimes I'll see, okay, so-and-so great player, great teacher teaches this piece, which that's orders of magnitude less time than what we're going to be spending on the repertoire here. There's just no way in one small series of videos that you can cover what I'm going to be able to do over the course of several months, week by week, getting your feedback, seeing how you progress. Okay, so the difference here is it's repertoire-based projects on a schedule with a deadline, which has always brought me the best results. And it's really the culmination of all the experiments, all the work I've done week by week in the VMC over the last 5 years. Great. I want to take you quickly inside the course, just so you can see what you can jump in right away and do. So this would be as soon as you join. You know, I mentioned that we'll start officially, well, it's just about in a week and a half. But since the doors are opening, let's see, what time is it? Now-ish. I'll get a link up for you very soon. Here's what you can jump in and do already. It's this Virtuoso Vault. So I believe, yes, we should be seeing this now. So here we are. Here's me. I'm not the daily virtuoso, you are. So let's look right now. Now this is where the repertoire, the marked parts, and the weekly plans would go as well, and then there will be another section for the live sessions once those get going. But let's look at what's in the Virtuoso Vault. And I believe I might need to turn sound on for this. Under Mindset, these are all the kind of things that we've been talking about. There, yeah, of course, there's some technical advice in there, but this is about more than just what is a great sound, but it's the fact that you should expect great sound with every bow you draw. That's part of your mindset. And yeah, here's another quick concept, easy concept to etc. to internalize. Tools. Now this is a lot of folks have been asking for this kind of thing for a long time, and you know, here are, right, what does it mean to get better at thirds or octaves? You know, so when I pull up octaves, here's 8 minutes of a deep dive just on octaves. So I'll be referring to these now for parts octaves, of the Virtuoso Vault. One of the most, sorry to talk over myself. That also includes these classic etudes, as you can see here. The fundamental shifting subject, the selection of Kreutzers that I refer to all the time. And finally, practice techniques. How often and how much should you repeat something? What does relaxed awareness look like? How do you practice with the metronome? Bow circles, all these kind of things. So this whole Virtuoso Vault is available to you as soon as you join, because I know you're going to want something fun and productive to do before we get started. And again, I'll be here for your questions in just a few minutes. I think I just want to leave you with, you know, why I'm doing this now, and why I think now is a great time for you, and you know, without peering into each and every one of your lives, there are all kinds of reasons to wait. I mean, we spend half our lives waiting, right? I had a couple times this year where I got to take on a solo project. The Four Seasons was one of them. I had another one earlier this year with the Carmen Fantasy, and you know how you can just tell when your artistic life, because you know, I've had a relationship with the violin longer than I have with my kids, my wife, and all that. Doesn't mean it's more important, certainly not. But when you spend so much time with this instrument, you want that time to count. And I could just tell, I felt like my time with the violin suddenly had a purpose, because I was learning Carmen to perform it. I'd never performed it before. Learning the Four Seasons to finally play the whole set all at once. And I could just tell, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't want to go back to just playing someone else's stuff all year. So for me, I knew the time was now to kick myself into gear, to make these recordings, to learn or relearn these great pieces. You know, if you need more of a reason why now, if you know you're interested, get the founding member pricing, you know, before the end of the year. And, you know, if you want to get started in time with the Bach A minor, the Mendelssohn, the Chrysler, starting up October 2nd. So you can get the good pricing. If you want to commit annually, you also get priority in the hot seats and that free other course. You know, look, we've all waited on things. Sometimes waiting is the right move. But a lot of us are old enough to know that sometimes you wait and years go by, and you know, yeah, you wish you'd taken action sooner, and had some fun while you were doing it. So if you've been saying for a while, you know, I really want to play this, I want to play that, I wish I could play this, just get started. You know, consider this your push, because I'll help you do it. It's not going to be perfect, but I'll help you do it, and you will surprise yourself, even with a schedule. So at this point, if the link is not already in the chat on YouTube and Facebook, I'm going to link you to the page, which will show you even more details. And that's where you can actually sign up either annually or monthly. Again, as soon as you do, you can be in there in the Virtuoso Vault, and then our quarterly repertoire will start on October 2nd. The pricing, it's really attractive, especially for those of you who have mentioned to me you couldn't do the VMC type commitment. So the monthly commitment, $235, that's the founding member pricing. And if you're ready to join me for the year, $2,500. And again, those prices will never go up for you as long as you remain a member. But that is way, way, way less than the Virtuoso Master Course program that I've offered in the past. And it's exactly what so many of you have asked for in terms of being able to get through that dream repertoire. So I will look now for questions you may have. And I see there are some good ones. And some of you already checked out the link perfectly. Edgar asks about fifths, tuning fifths. You saw, that's right there in the Virtuoso Vault. I've got some good advice on that. Midnight Tutor. Now these are, I do want to get to the, oh, I see, these are questions about, I'll get to those. I see there are some questions about technical matters. Stefan asks, not for us violists. That depends. It's not primarily for you, and I hate saying that, especially to you, Stefan, but you know, Stefan has worked with me before, so I think you're in a position to know what things apply and what don't. But, you know, I'm only comfortable leading people through the great violin repertoire because I can play it myself. If I someday get my act together, get a viola, and become a sometime violist, then I could lead lead those pieces. But I want to be able to set an example by playing the pieces along with everybody. So I'm certainly, you know, if any violists either want to finally take up violin or go back to violin if you left, certainly Bach always works well on the viola, but it's violin repertoire that we'll be doing. So that was a tough choice to make, but that's what fits for this program. The platforms that this will be on. So the workouts will be, you're going to see it, it'll be on my website, which is where the course lives, natesviolin.com. It's a new design now, by the way, to coincide with this. Design's not everything, but it sure does look pretty, and should be easier to get around. So the workouts will be there in the course. That way only course members, as long as you're logged in, you can view it there. The hot seats, yes, will need to be on Zoom. So you'll get that info. Anything where others are going to be on camera and microphone with me will need to be on Zoom. Numbers limited. This is designed to be a big worldwide party. So, maybe there's an extreme limit. Those of you who did the Violympics and other programs with me, we had hundreds of players, and it was basically the more the merrier. That's what I'm hoping for here. So Monica hopes that this will include sharing, playing with recordings, or even live. That's the most incredibly motivating thing. I agree. I'll be sharing the recordings I make with you, and I'll be inviting anyone who's interested, because not everyone loves to do that, but if that's a motivating factor for you, we're going to have a place where everybody can share their links, and I won't be assigning points like I did for the Violympics, but for anybody for whom that's motivating, we're going to have a place where you can share those, and it'll be that marker that you did it. You can kind of put a stamp on that quarter and say, yeah, I learned all this music, and here's where it was for this performance. And I take that forward, because I agree. I need that motivation. Denise asks, is there something built in so that those of us who are usually confused can stay on track, like the homework element? So right, the weekly practice plans, and it'll be in video form, but there will be that written summary. Like, these are the bar numbers of the Bach that, I suggest you work on this week, because that's what I'm covering in the videos this week. And then I suggest you go back to this page, because we're all going to be working from the same music. Remember, you have my marked parts. Then I suggest you go back to this page and review it. Then focus on these two lines and do them slowly. So yes, whether you're doing them sort of on schedule with everybody else, or whether you're saying, hey, I want to go back a quarter and look at this repertoire. I want to take on just the Chrysler. You can go week by week and see how I would go through the Chrysler, so certainly. Andrea asks about the Bach, which edition of the Bach? It's an urtext edition that somebody has very nicely typeset and put on IMSLP. And there may be one or two typos, but it's pretty perfect. So for the Bach, that's what we'll be doing. And I'll mark it up with my suggestions, but it'll be the urtext as edited by Nathan Cole. Monica, you ask about a platform for posting recordings. Yeah, storing video is a tricky thing. So I always, I host my videos on Vimeo. YouTube is obviously, an easy and popular place for people to put their videos. Then what I assume you're asking is, okay, well, how do we share them? How do we share the links? And that we can do sharing links on my website. So a lot of people don't know, if you put a video on YouTube unlisted, nobody's ever going to see it. Because only those with the link will find it and see it. It doesn't come up in searches or anything like that. So a lot of people are scared to put things on YouTube. Obviously don't put anything tremendously private on there, but performance videos unlisted, share the link with those who you want to see it. That's perfect. All right, I have been informed YouTube and Facebook won't allow anybody to get the link. So let me drop that in there from this computer. Thank you for letting me know. And by following this, you can sign up, but you can also get more questions answered. All right. At long last. All right. There is the link on YouTube. There it is on, oh, now Facebook, it looked like it was already on there, but, ooh, and did I see Gail already signed up? Awesome. That is perfect. Can't wait to start working with you. I'm here for more questions if, let's see, if they come up. Charlotte asks, how long do I think I'll continue with it? Well, I'm making a commitment to keep with this for the long term. You know, forever is a bit of a, we can't say forever, but this is only meaningful to me as a multi-year commitment. So I'm comfortable saying that. You know, certainly I've gone through the repertoire for this next year. Oh, let me just mention what that is, by the way. So for those considering, well, do I want to commit for a year? What are we actually going to learn? I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to get here. Okay, so first quarter, the Mendelssohn Concerto, Bach A minor solo sonata, and Kreisler Preludium and Allegro. The second quarter, meaning in the new year, it'll be the Bruch Concerto in G minor, the one that he came to hate, but that everyone else loves. Beethoven's Last Sonata, number 10 in G major. They're sometimes called the cock crow. And Sarasate's Introduction and Tarantella. Okay, that's the... And don't worry if you say, I can't play a showpiece, I can't play Sarasate. What is it that you can't do? I'm curious. I bet you can do it. The next quarter will be, we'll take on another Bach, the Partita in B minor. Okay. Great fun there. The concerto will be Wieniawski's second concerto, D minor. It's shorter than a lot of people realize. It clocks in only at around, you know, not too much over 20 minutes. So there's obviously some fireworks in there, but what is written so well, it's so beautiful, the slow movements to die for. And I know everybody's going to get so much out of it, even if you've never played Wieniawski before. And the encore piece will be Elgar, Salut d'amour. That's the... It's another Pinchas Zuckerman favorite. And in the fourth quarter of the program, which will actually be, it would be the summer, basically, of 2024. It'll be the Beethoven Violin Concerto, Franck Sonata, and Paganini's 24th Caprice. So that's the repertoire for the first 4 quarters. If you're joining up for that year, that's what we'll get to do together. So just imagine a year from now, you have all those pieces under your belt. Some of you may have played all of them before, and you'll just be refining learning new angles, figuring out how to get those performances just the way that you hope. Others, some of them will be review, other pieces you'll be learning for the first time, but you'll have marked parts and you'll have a plan and you'll have some company. So, I know I've talked for a long while. I've left you with the link on YouTube. Yeah, that's still close enough to the bottom. I think everybody's got it. Mary, I see you're asking, how do the practice squads work? When do they meet? So when we place folks in practice squads, we're going to try to do it based on somewhat on time zones, right? They're meeting once a month, so there will be some flexibility in terms of finding times that are going to work for a squad in general, but chances are, not everybody's going to be able to make every live meeting. So for those who want to participate in those squads, this is something new. We're trying, but I want everybody to be able to participate live as much as they want to, for those who want that help. And the sessions will be recorded again, only for members. But yeah, that's the idea there. So, thank you again for joining me this whole week. It's been such a pleasure to we relived a performance of mine, but really I'm excited looking ahead to the next music I get to play, which is the Mendelssohn and the Bach and the Chrysler. Looking forward to refining those to share with you and then with the world. And I'm hoping I can inspire you to do the same thing. So questions should go to help@natesviolin.com. You'll also be getting an email about this. Remember, if you're at all considering that annual founding membership, by the end of my day, Sunday, so that's a little more than 48 hours from now, 56 or 58 hours or something from now, do that. Not only do you lock in that price for as long as you want to continue your annual memberships, but you'll get another one of my courses for free, and that bonus will go away after Sunday. Let me check any last. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. And I will see you very soon. And I'm happy to answer your questions about the Daily Virtuoso, but I really hope to see you in there. So I'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks.